Elysium. And if you want Justin's thoughts on Elysium, be sure to check out his written review on the site. But Scott, what did you think about Elysium? Or what is it about?
Well, let's go on to the story first off. This movie takes place in the year 2154. The Earth is basically plagued by disease and overpopulation. The wealthy people have escaped to a man-made space station called Elysium, which is where we get the movie's title. The citizens there not only live a life of luxury, but they also have an advanced technology that heals any kind of sickness they have or ailment or whatever's wrong with them. And those left on the planet are continuously trying to get to this extra space station because they want to either heal their families or live a life of luxury. But they're stopped by Homeland Security, which is headed by Jodie Foster's Delacourt. And she's basically in charge of keeping everybody away and keeping all the immigrants out, that kind of thing. Matt Damon's also in the movie. He plays Max, the lead character. He's a former thief trying to play it safe on Earth.
Play it safe?
Play it safe.
Statham.
Yeah,
Who looks remarkably like Brian Williams.
Jason Statham. Anyway, Max suffers a serious injury working at an industrial site that gives him only 5 days to live. In order to get a ride to Elysium to save his own life, he agrees to take part in a dangerous mission with an organization that's basically set on creating equality between the two different worlds, Earth and Elysium. It's no easy task, as Delacourt has dispatched a violent group of secret police led by Agent Kruger, who's played by Charlton Copley. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Sure.
I know, Aaron, that Justin's not here, and he's like the big sci-fi guy, and you don't like sci-fi nearly as much as he does, but what did you think of the story and the pacing?
No one on the planet likes sci-fi as much as he does.
Probably true.
Well, I didn't have to do any research because I actually knew this, but Elysium stems from Greek mythology. And basically, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, it's the place that gods bestowed heroes who they had granted like immortality or something like that. And also in Homer's work, he talked about Elysium Plain, I think it was. And it was like the place of perfect happiness or something like that at the end of the world.
They even reference it in Gladiator.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah. So that's where the term comes from. Look at Brian. He's like, yeah, I knew that.
I didn't have to research that.
Neil Blomkamp's Elysium is the same thing, except it's a giant space station. It's orbiting the Earth, and you know what you're saying. Mm-hmm. It's very much a film about the haves and the have-nots. I mean, that's really what it's trying to do. And it's not even a little subtle. I mean, it's hey,
subtle.
Yes, subtle. I'm telling you, man, I am off my beat. I mean,
you pronounce the B, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. It's subtle. I mean, Elysium hovers over, looking down on Earth, all while the citizens stare up to it, and they're like, "Oh, look at it like it's the sun." I mean, it's pretty to the point of we got shit, you got nothing. We got it, you don't. I mean, it's pretty to the point. The movie's just really smarter sci-fi. I mean, there's a million movies like it out there. There's nothing too deep. It's just trying to add a little social introspective to get people excited about it.
What bums me out is the possibility of a civilization that has the technology to heal all those people and just doesn't.
See, there's a couple things about the story that really irked me.
That was one of them.
That was one of them. I mean, I understand if you want to go to the extreme, but this is almost like the extreme left wing made the movie or something. I mean, instead of like just leaving politics out of it, I mean, like all rich people could really care less about the health of all poor people. I just thought that was idiotic.
Right.
It was a little absurd. And not every rich person in the world doesn't care about people. I just don't believe that. So that part I was like, oh, okay, we get what you're trying to say. And Blomkamp can say he wasn't trying to interject that into it all he wants, but I mean, it was pretty blatant. There's some other plot points, like there's no defenses on the space station, and it's the size of the frickin' Death Star. That doesn't make any sense to me. But outside of that, I mean, there's a machine, and this is part of the story, so I'll say it right now. There's a machine in the movie that can apparently heal people, but it also resurrects the really, 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 really dead. So,
yeah, really dead.
Yeah, that just, What? That took me out of it a couple times. But other than that, the story really worked for me. I mean, it was never too heavy-handed. It was never too political, despite what it sounds like by the plot description. It's just really a movie about desperation and Max's fight to live. Mm-hmm. So I really liked it.
Surprisingly violent, too.
I wasn't surprised at how violent it was.
I was not expecting that.
Did you see District 9? It's pretty freaking violent.
I thought this
They were
topped
blowing
that.
limbs off.
Limbs.
Mm-hmm.
This one went a little further.
Yeah, there's parts where it did, I suppose. But to me, it was on the same level.
Yeah. What did you think about the acting? I know we had couple actors. We talked about Matt Damon, Jodie Foster, Charlotte Copley.
Jodie Foster really disappointed me.
Same here.
And I just want to point out, this was my most anticipated movie of the summer. I said that, if you listen months back, that's what I said. But I have to be honest about it. Jodie Foster really disappointed me. She wasn't bad. She just wasn't as good as I thought she'd be. And whatever that accent was...
It was like she was trying to be French, but...
Yeah, and nobody could decide what... I mean, the director should have rolled up a newspaper and smacked her on the nose. Said, no. It was a bad idea.
It was like she hung out with Charlotte Copley and couldn't decide if she was going to be French or South African.
Yeah, she's like, what do you want to do? I don't know, but don't do that. That's what he should have said. Damon was great. Matt Damon was fantastic.
He was really good.
Yeah.
Very likable.
I mean, people can say what they want about him. We give him crap because of one movie, really. From Team
America.
Team America.
You just quote that.
Just quote it. But he really is a great actor, and I think people need to appreciate him a little bit more, because he goes from happy to cancerous to action hero to wannabe savior over the course of this whole movie, and fantastic. I mean, just a wonderful performance. If it was any other genre, I would say it was worthy of an Oscar nomination, but. They won't do that.
You also really liked, and I didn't write his name down, but the guy that played his buddy with the long hair that was like kind of helping him out and getting into the resistance or whatever. Mm-hmm. His name is escaping me, but he was really good. I enjoyed him.
You should have done more research.
I know I should have. But yeah, Jodie Foster disappointed me as well.
What'd you think about Copley?
Oh man, he stole the show, man.
He did. He pretty much took the movie from Matt Damon.
Seriously, he was the star of this show. I didn't do a whole lot of... I kind of went into the movie blind. I didn't want a whole lot going into it. I didn't realize he was that much of a bad guy. Mm-hmm. Holy cow, he's a good bad guy.
He's a sick, sadistic son of a bitch.
He really is.
And he still has... I mean, because if you know who he is, he was in... he played Murdoch in the A-Team, and he was the lead in District 9. So you probably know his face. And if you go to the movie and you know who he is, I barely recognize him. And I wouldn't have recognized him except for as soon as he talks, you can't mistake that South African accent, that high-pitched South African voice he has.
But it worked so well in that role. It really
did. He impressed the crap out of me. But he is really vicious and really cruel, and he really enjoys it. Mm-hmm. And I love that he had, because basically they have these exoskeletons that they implant on them. And that's how he basically handles the resistance on Earth. Is he has the skeleton that gives him extra powers, and Matt Damon gets retrofitted with the same thing. Well, he has like adapters, almost like ports on his face, because he does so many things. I mean, he's basically become a machine almost at this point, because he's had this exoskeleton for so long. And it's
Darth Vader.
Yeah,
what?
Darth Vader. There you go. It was really, really interesting. And I also like Alice Braga and her daughter. That was a cute extra storyline.
It seemed tacked on, though.
It seemed a little tacked on, but it worked in the course of it, and it worked. What'd you think about the direction? Because that's really, I mean, I've talked about the director before because I met him, but so what did you think about how he handled this movie? Because this is different from District 9 a little bit.
It is and it isn't, because I thought some of the shots felt very similar. It felt like you were almost like the same, like they filmed in the same area that they filmed District 9. It almost felt like that. But the shots felt tighter. They felt there was a lot more money into the special effects. I thought everything was really gorgeous.
Oh, the effects were amazing.
They really were. They really stood out. This guy is on my radar. I want to see pretty much everything he sees. Mm-hmm. What irritated the crap out of me, and I talk about this in every film where this is prevalent, the shaky cam, man. I want to sit and watch the action sequences.
There were a couple that were really hard to follow.
Really hard to follow. Mm-hmm. It just drives me crazy. It's getting to the point where I see that and I just automatically want to deduct like $2 off the score because that's not pleasant to watch. The reason that I go watch a movie is because I want to sit back and watch the scene. Mm-hmm. I don't want to actually be in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And that really drove me crazy. That was a big negative for me. But outside of that, looked gorgeous. I loved the fight sequences that I could see. What about you?
Oh, I mean, I already talked about it. I think he has a way of approaching sci-fi that I think is smart, yet somewhat grounded. Mm-hmm. It's not too fantastical, which is why I like him.
Exactly.
I like his work. And he can have an extreme premise like this, or like District 9. I mean, go back and watch that one. The premise was, if you heard about it, you would have laughed thinking that it was going to be a deeply dramatic movie.
Right.
But he has a way of approaching it that works, and it feels like something a little bit more than just a simple chase flick, which is really all it is. It's really just a simple chase flick. He just put some emotion in it.
That's true.
and it works, and the special effects flawless, the shots. Shaky cam didn't bother me as much as it did you, but I mean,
it's becoming a thorn on my side.
Yeah, it's become something that you're gonna point to. It didn't.
Exactly.
It didn't really get to me, but there were definitely scenes where I'm like, I cannot tell what's going on, and I didn't like that. But there were a lot of surprises that made up for it. Some stuff I didn't see coming that happened, and that takes a lot. You've seen as many movies as we have, so.
Right?
What's your verdict?
My verdict, man, Elysium had me interested from start to finish, especially with the great performances by Damon and Copley. But the moving camera during action sequences kept me from loving it more. If $10 is the full price of admission, I give it $7.
Okay.
How about you?
Jodie's crappy accent and a couple of cuckoo plot points really were a couple of my minor gripes, but they did take away, especially the machine. You'll know it when you watch the movie. That machine it literally stopped the movie for me for about 5 minutes. But otherwise, it's a smart taught sci-fi thriller. I really liked it. I don't want anybody to hear the score and go, oh, well, you didn't like it. But I give it 7.50 out of 10. $10 full price, I get 7.50, which is a good 3 stars, essentially.
Yeah.
It's a very good, very deep, very interesting sci-fi thriller. It just had a couple things I wish they would have ironed out.